right, Tri-States, this is your Tri-State Triumphs for Thursday, May the 7th, and we are pleased to have Pittsfield standing up with us today. Brady Barke, who is currently the athletic director at SEMO, obviously former Pittsfield Sucky, great basketball player, golfer, went to Webster University, Hall of Famer there. But I've got to ask you, Brady, how does a one-time aspiring biologist end up going into the field of college administration?
Yeah, it's a good question. You know, I always thought I was going to be an orthopedic surgeon and I do sports medicine. That was my dream growing up, and that's what I always thought I was going to do. And I scrubbed in on some surgeries while I was in college and realized I don't like blood. Figured that probably is going to disqualify me from that field. And I wanted to try and find something that would keep me around athletics, just because it's such a big part of who I am. And so I took a chance, went to law school thinking I'd be able to maybe get into something athletic related on the back end there, and I have been fortunate to have my career in college athletics so far.
You found a really nice home, it seems, in Cape with the longevity. I think you've held the head job since 2015, I've read. It seems to have gone by in blank. Why has that been such a good fit for you down there at SEMO?
Yeah, you know, to be honest, I didn't think I would be here that long. You know, I kind of took the first job in 2008, and you know, had thought maybe 5 years or so, and you know, move on to whatever that next opportunity is. And for me, really kind of fell in love with Cape Girardeau, with the community, the size of the community, you know, what you know, athletics and the university means to it. And my wife and I, you know, started a family and felt like it was a really good place to be able to raise a family. And then professionally, I just saw the opportunity and the potential that was there to be able to build athletics into something that it really hasn't been since the institution went Division I. And you know, we've had some success with it, and I think that's kind of fueled my fire professionally.
You touch on that. I mean, you get a chance, and there was a time this probably seemed impossible. You get a chance to oversee the first home playoff game in the football program's history. I mean, there's a lot of really good that's happened on your watch, and I know you'll probably demur a lot of this, but that has to be at some level incredibly satisfying to see that growth in the institution's athletic achievements.
Yeah, it is. You know, I mean, I've always felt like athletics plays such a huge part in an institution, in their identity, their exposure. It is, you know, the front porch in a lot of ways. And so take the role that it can play very seriously, and felt like we weren't, you know, maximizing our potential in a lot of respects. And so, you know, it starts with people, and felt like we have a really good group of coaches and things that are made of the right things and try to do it the right way. And it's taken some time, and we've had some struggles along the way, but really pleased with the progress we've made. And it's been a lot of fun to be honest, to live vicariously through the students is a lot of fun.
I'm not sure you probably have the same level of love for athletics if you don't come from such an athletic, crazed background. And being a Pittsfield Sucky, I mean, you know better than anybody what that atmosphere is like. How much has that kind of shaped who you are and what you've become in this business?
Oh, it's so much of it, you know, and you know, kind of laugh. I'm a transplant of sorts into Pittsfield. You know, I wasn't born and raised there. We moved there when I was in, you know, grade school and played through that time. But that was where I first understood how important athletics was to a community, and you know, having that instilled in me, you know, and my work ethic and desire to, you know, to be better every day was a large part, you know, from being a competitor, and so it's kind of fueled who I am, but it's given me a greater appreciation as, you know, as we're trying to build things and do things, understanding the impact that it has on a community and how important it is And I think we see it right now as we're all going through, this pandemic, just how much people miss sports and that opportunity to, escape from everything else going on in their lives for just a little while and rally around something common and share that experience. It's special when you're doing it right.
Brady, part and parcel to the job that you have, and you wear many hats, obviously, as an athletic director, one of the things that you're charged with is hiring coaches. You're around some awfully good coaches at Pittsfield High School. How does it kind of frame your vantage point of what a great coach is?
Yeah. Well, Dave Bennett was one of the best I've ever been around. And, I think about those. I think about what the expectations were being in a program like that, and I think about what the standards are, and how you build the culture and the buy-in and the accountability and all of those things. And admittedly, as I look at coaching candidates, I think about those types of people and think about what will this program look like under this person's leadership, because I know what successful programs look like, and people can do it different ways, but you tend to see some common themes in successful programs and the way that people run them. And it took a lot away from that, and really grateful for those experiences.
Brady, what is the biggest misconception people have about your job? Is it that college sports simply sell themselves?
Initially when I started, I had a lot of people asking me, if I got summers off. They assume that you just go to games and that's it. There's so much that goes into it, from revenue generation to be able to do the things, constant at our level. The more success you have, the more difficult it gets, because you lose coaches to other jobs. You have a harder time scheduling games because people don't want to play you the better you are, all of those kinds of things. And it definitely makes things a little bit more challenging. But I think people assume that athletics at the college level is a profit center, and it's just this big money grab, and it's so much different. It's we spend so much time trying to use athletics as a vehicle to develop our students and prepare them for their careers, because most of them, it's not professional athletics. And I think people see the games and assume that that's what it is, but there's just so much more that we have an opportunity to use it for, that I think the average fan doesn't see.
I'm not doing my job if I don't ask you. Here we are in the biggest work stoppage in World War II, essentially. How tough has it been? I mean, you're on your boots on the ground in the middle of this thing, trying to keep your athletic department afloat and viable with no games going on, as you so eloquently mentioned. Just what kind of challenge has this been professionally?
Yeah, I was telling my wife yesterday that I feel like I'm busier now than I am during a normal period, which is really weird because there's no events going on. But all of the day-to-day preparation that you have going into a next academic year and all of those things is still there. But now you're also planning for all of these uncertainties that you have to plan for. And are we going to have a fall season, and what does that look like? And are there going to be fans there? What do we do if we don't have that revenue? What happens if we have to move seasons to a different time frame, and now we have overlap of other sports, and there's just so many things there. And then also, spending time on the president's cabinet for the institution, just talking about when are we going to open the campus again? What is the return to work plan, and how are we going to accomplish those things? And it's an incredibly difficult time, and one you want to be sensitive to, because there's significant health risks associated with it. But the economy is really suffering as a result of it. And a lot of people are whose lives are going to be changed forever as a result of this.
No real easy segue on this. Let's kind of spin it back a little bit more positively. And I know Pittsfield was your adopted hometown, but you look at it, and obviously there was an awful lot of influence with teachers and coaches, as you mentioned. To some degree, is there still a sense of pride knowing that Johnny Schultz is still running baseball? Is there a particular teacher that you had that's still part of the educational system that maybe you shout out helping you on this adventure?
It's funny. I of course, my family, moved after I graduated. But my wife, Hallie Spann, played there. Her family still is there. I still get back every once in a while, and I don't get to see a whole lot of games. My schedule doesn't allow for that, but I make my way back into town on holidays and those kinds of things. And to see just the Mark Ammons and John Schultz and those kinds of people that I spent so much time around. There's really good people there, and then even to see Brad Tomhave and the people that are continuing that legacy on. Brad was a high school teammate of my older brother's, and I watched Brad play, and to watch him now carry that on, and those kinds of things. It's really neat, and that's what small town sports are about.
I'm not doing my job well if I don't ask you about the golf game. I have to imagine it has suffered somewhat with the new job, or with the job duties, obviously being demanding as they are. But is it still there? Is there still some semblance of the golf game with you?
Yeah, it's probably one of those things where I'm a little bit better the less I play, and I don't get out. I don't get out a ton, but we've got some really nice courses down here, and when I get an opportunity to, I certainly take advantage of it. And it's one of those things. As I get a little bit older, I know I'll still be able to continue to play that. I may not be able to play basketball quite as long, but I'll do both of them as long as I can.
Last one for you, Brady. And part of the reason that doing these is to show people, particularly the young people community in this really strange time, that to remind that there is a positive vibe to all this, and people who come from anywhere can rise to any level that they want. What is the best advice you'd give to a young person who says, hey, I'm from some tiny small town or hamlet who has really big dreams? What would you tell them about achieving and chasing down what it is that is their life's goal?
For me, it's the same thing I've tell my kids. It's find something you're passionate about, find something that you love, and don't let anybody tell you can't do it or prevent you from doing it. My path. If I were to tell somebody that you become a Division I athletic director by staying at the same institution, moving out of athletics into the president's office, moving back into athletics. They tell you it never happened. And, I was fortunate and, was able to make some connections. But, at the end of the day, it was just something that I knew that I was going to do whatever I could to be able to put myself in a position to do that. And I think so often that's, lost in some of the younger generation of when there's that first sign of resistance, you maybe think, well, I should go a different way. And sometimes just plowing through it is what you need to do. And if you really care about it and it's what you really want, nobody can stop you from doing that except yourself.